Hey everyone, it's Alex Martinez, and in today's video, we're covering how to get started wholesaling real estate in 14 days or less. So we've had clients we've taught how to get started in real estate, wholesaling, fixing, flipping, and buying rental properties, where they've been able to do their first deal within 14 days. And a lot of the deals we do today, we put 14 days or sooner for the close date on those properties. So a lot of the deals that we close, that we wholesale, that we flip, we're able to acquire within 14 days. And I have a special guest today, Tim here. Tim's an employee at one of our companies, and he wants to learn how to get started wholesaling real estate. So we thought this would be a great opportunity to bring Tim in here. He's got a ton of questions as a beginner on how to get started. And he sees a lot of people getting started wholesaling who have full-time jobs or part-time jobs, and he's thinking, why not him? So I wanted to bring Tim in today to answer all the questions and go as in-depth as you want.
Yeah, awesome. And thank you so much for having me. I know it's a really big opportunity, a busy man, and I get to learn from the master himself. The reason why I'm here today is because, I have invested myself on the side, a couple $1,000s in ETFs, obviously 401k at my company, Roth IRA as well. With kind of the current climate that the world is in, I'm not confident that this will be enough to provide for me, my older self, and even my family and my grandchildren, like moving forward. And obviously what you teach at Real Estate Skills is, real estate is the most reliable way to create wealth. And I see just so many people who, start in my position from nothing and are able to, get these, one, ends meet, and two, create wealth for the future. So I guess my first question would be why do you recommend real estate?
So number one, there's not too many industries that you can work in and make an active income and then reinvest your money back into that industry and make a passive income. So with wholesaling real estate and flipping real estate as well, wholesaling and flipping, you can make an active income. Day to day, you can be finding deals, putting deals under contract, wholesaling a house, making quick capital, fixing and flipping a house, making a larger profit. And now you're understanding what's a good deal, what's a bad deal. Now you can invest into buy and hold deals, rental properties that bring you passive income. So all the groundwork that you're laying down, all your day-to-day that you're doing is actually not only compounding your wealth, it's compounding your learning. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, right? If you have a regular job that's not in the real estate industry and you work there hard, like most Americans, 40, 50, 60 hours a week, it may be completely irrelated or unrelated to real estate. And so now, if you work 60 hours in a week, you have to carve out the time to then go learn real estate. And just sometimes when you're not making active income in real estate, and you have this job, you're not able to learn as fast as you can as if you spend time in real estate making your money. And that was a decision I made at a young age. But on top of that, making active income is great. It's really about buying rental properties that can bring you that passive income. There's also additional tax benefits, right? There's a lot of stats out there. You're going to see it. A lot of the wealthiest people in the world own real estate. One of those reasons is the tax benefits, the depreciation you can get from real estate. We've acquired apartment buildings, office buildings, and we invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into there, and those investments are then write-offs. We can offset that against our income. And there's a lot of people that don't pay any money in taxes because they invest in a real estate. So talk about wealth, it's not just about making money, it's about keeping the money that you make. And real estate has those opportunities. And then additionally in real estate too, we're not talking about an asset that you can't drive to and physically see, right? Real estate, you can live in the property if you want to, if it's an investment property. You can go there, let's say you have 5 investment properties, and you're like, you know what, I want to live in one. Right. You can do that. If you want to invest into an ETF, you can't live in your ETF. If you want to invest into Bitcoin, you can't live in Bitcoin. So it's a real hard asset that every single person needs a roof over their head. And if we break it down to simple economics as well with real estate, there's a lot more babies being born in the United States and in the world than there are houses being built. So basic economics says, hey, if you have an ever-increasing supply and demand's not keeping up, or the supply of houses isn't keeping up, that demand's always going to be growing. So when we talk about real estate being an appreciating asset as well, when you can own it, it grows over time. Well, now you can beat things like inflation, like we see today. So there's so many benefits to real estate, and I'd say just the end goal at the end of the day, I think what all of us are looking for, probably you too, is freedom, probably, and financial freedom. And one of the simplest ways to put it on how to achieve that is to have more assets like real estate that bring in passive income to you, that you don't have to work for that money, that doesn't come from your job, doesn't come from your salary, it comes from your investments. And then that pays, that passive income on a monthly basis, pays for your expenses, pays for your liabilities. That's why real estate can be so great. And when we're talking about real estate too, I'm sure you've seen a lot of people with success in real estate. You know, not just us and our team, our clients, but you see a lot of other people having success. It's a proven path. This is not something that we're not saying, hey, become an astronaut and go to the moon. And there's 0.1% of people in the United States have the opportunity to do that. We're talking about an opportunity here that every single person in the United States can actually work towards and achieve. So it is very achievable, and I think that's why it's been so interesting for me. I think it's why it's so interesting for other people. If you're just willing to do the work, you can absolutely make it happen. And I think the first biggest question, and probably why we're here today, one of them is just like, how the heck do I get started then?
Yeah.
You know, that there's so much out there. Because, I mean, feel free if you have any questions about what I just talked about or anything you don't agree on.
Well, I mean, right away, it's like the path to getting rentals and getting that passive income. It's an intimidating venture, right? And the where I am now to where I want to be 10 years from now, with properties under my belt, that path seems almost impossible because I literally know nothing and I don't even know where to start. So say me coming from the beginner mindset, like, how do I invest in real estate basically from nothing, no money, no experience? Like, what is my entryway?
Yeah, for sure. So if we want to own rental properties, let's say that's the end goal. Let's say you want to have 20 rental properties that bring you $6,000 in passive income a month. Let's just say that's a goal. That can happen in 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years. It's absolutely achievable. The reality is, I don't really like having partners on rental properties. I want you to own 100% of those rental properties. Once you start, you buy a single family house and let's say you have 4 partners on it and the cash flow is $400 a month. Now you get $100 of that $400 if you had partners, and it just becomes very messy. You have more partners, someone gets married, they want to sell the property, and causes more issues, and it's just more work than anticipated. Yeah. So what we like to do, and the goal for you would be for you to put the down payment on the property. And for an investment property, you can put 20% down, right? There's houses, we have clients, we have students, we have partners buying houses sub $100,000 across the United States, down payments of $15,000. And so for you, like one example, Max at our company, right, bought that property with a $15,000 down payment, cash flows $500 a month. So the goal now is, how do you get $15,000 of extra capital to invest into this piece of real estate, right? So money doesn't fall out of thin air. I'm not a trust fund baby. Pretty sure you're not. We're not just gifted money. We have to work hard for our money. So if you're faced with the situation of most Americans, you have a job and you get a 3% raise every single year, it's going to be a very slow path to acquiring these rentals, right? So the goal was like, how do I get started? I don't have a lot of capital. I don't have extra capital. Maybe I have no money. Maybe I'm in debt already. Maybe you have credit card debt. Maybe you have student loans already that you have to pay off, that are accruing debt. This is where wholesaling is that starting point, right? Wholesaling, what wholesaling is a way to make capital in real estate without having any capital. And I'll just dive right into it because this is really the starting point, right? We need capital to buy these rental properties. How do you acquire this capital as fast, as easy as possible? So with wholesaling real estate, what we're doing when you wholesale real estate is you find a distressed property first, right? You find a distressed property that someone else is going to want to buy, typically a fix and flipper. You put that property under contract at a particular purchase price, let's say $180,000. You put it under contract to buy. Now, it doesn't cost any money to put a property under contract. It doesn't cost any money to sign a contract, all right? You're not actually buying the property, and you're protecting yourself with backup clauses, so you're not liable to buy the property. So you're finding a distressed property that someone else will want. You put it under contract, and you sell it to that other person that wants it. So let's say you put it under contract at 180,000 and then you sell it for 200,000. Now you make the difference between 180 and 200,000. That's $20,000 of a profit for what we like to call assigning the contract, which is when you just transfer the rights, your ownership, your equitable interest to buy the property. You're transferring those rights to buy the property to this other person that we call a cash buyer or company. They want to buy this property because they want to fix and flip it. They know that, hey, if I fix and flip this and take on more risk and spend 3, 4, 5, 6 months flipping it, they're going to make $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on that deal. That's why they're buying the deal from you. And so once you do that, this is where, in 14 days or less, right? A lot of these wholesale deals we do, we're closing in 14 days or less from the time we put under contract to the time we actually sell it and profit that $10,000 or $20,000 on a deal.
Right.
So that's really wholesaling at a high level. And what that allows you to do is now make an active income in real estate. And once again, it's easy for me to connect the dots, but the important thing is you're learning. When you wholesale real estate and you successfully wholesale it and you make $10,000 or $20,000 on that deal, that was a deal that you got under market value that someone else wanted, and you are now learning how to find good deals. And as a real estate investor who wants to build wealth, right, as someone who wants to invest not only in ETFs or stocks, but actually real estate and wants to get started, this is the best way to get started with no risk because you have backup clauses. Doesn't cost any money to put a property under contract. You don't have to swing any hammers. You don't have to fix the property. And so now the only risk is your time. And a lot of us have time,
Right.
Whether we know it or not.
Yeah.
And so that's why I recommend wholesaling to get started. The other kicker is, like, you could say, like, oh, I want to get started in real estate. Let me get a real estate license.
Yeah.
Well, you can do this without a real estate license. A real estate license can take several months, 6 months. Maybe you don't pass the test the first time, you got to redo it. You don't pass that test a few times, you got to wait a whole year. And so if that's your only knowledge or entry point to get started in real estate, you can hold yourself back, as well as there's a lot of fees and associations you then have to be a part of to do that. Whereas with wholesaling, if you have the knowledge, you could start tomorrow and do your first deal in 14, 30 days.
Yeah. From what I hear, the real estate license test is quite difficult. I have probably 3 people in my life right now who have to take a second test at this point. So, I mean, it's really good to know that you don't need a license, because that's also a hurdle I've been thinking about. But also, like, it seems a little too good to be true. So, like, my next question would be, like, do you think, like, is this legal? And if it isn't in some states, like, why?
Yeah, so wholesaling is absolutely legal. The way that I put it is anything can really be illegal if you do it the wrong way. Right? So I have a driver's license. I drive on the right side of the road, and it's completely fine. If I decide to drive on the wrong side of the road on head-on traffic, that's illegal. I'm going to hurt myself or hurt someone else. So there's a right and wrong way to do things. What we teach is the right way to do things. Any states that have specific laws or regulations on this, there's ways to do it the right way, right? We read the laws, we read the regulations. One of the biggest stipulations is that most people confuse the distinction between a real estate agent and wholesaler. When you're wholesaling, you're selling the contract rights, right? As I talked about earlier. I'm not selling a house. Selling a house is the job of a real estate agent. That's what you need to be licensed for. So when I'm selling the actual contract rights, that's not going to be illegal. And then the way we've done things as well, we always structure partnerships, JV partnerships with our cash buyers, people that buy our properties, before we ever go out and find a property. We have separate agreements with them. So, a couple states, for example, don't want you to assign the contract or get paid for that assignment. So then we just don't get paid for the assignment. We already have a separate JV agreement. We're not marketing a property. We're not marketing a contract. We are a deal finding company. We are a deal finding acquisitions arm for these companies that want deals. And so we just always structure it the right way so that we're always in the clear, abiding by the law, abiding by every single state's regulations.
Right. So the long and short of it, and forgive me or please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm essentially finding properties that an investor will be interested in, putting it under contract, selling them the contract because it's like, okay, well, they found a really good opportunity for me that I might be interested in. I'm going to basically pay them for that time and that effort, right?
Yeah, and just to have it make even more sense, because you might be thinking this, or a lot of people think this, like, why the heck would they pay me $10,000 or $20,000? Yeah. So if let's talk about fix and flippers. These are the people that are buying these properties from us. You have to understand their business model, right? What do fix and flippers have to do? If they want to flip 100 houses in a year, they're usually investing a significant amount of capital every single month into marketing, every single year. And I'm talking, $1 million isn't, off the table for them to invest in a year. $100,000 a month in marketing isn't off the table for them to invest into a deal, to invest into marketing. So when you can bring them a deal that, in this example, say they pay you $10,000 for, and at the very least they make $30,000 of profit after they flip it, that's a 3-to-1 ROI on their money. If they invest $10,000, they make $30,000. I'm talking profit here. I'm not talking about $30,000 minus $10,000, they make $20,000. I'm talking about a 3-to-1 return. Some deals they'll make $40,000, $50,000. They pay you $10,000 on it. So I think any business owner, once you start looking at it at that level, would you pay $10,000 to make $30,000?
Most likely.
Yeah. What about $10,000 to make $40,000?
Yeah.
Yeah. $10,000 to make $50,000?
Right.
For sure. So when you look at a fix and flipper, what would they have done? What do they have to do to get this deal that you already got under contract? Because at this point, once you have a deal under contract, all the cash buyer needs to do is sign the assignment agreement saying, hey, I want this deal, and now they have ownership of it, and now they can close on it, and now they can flip it. Like, literally, they just need to sign a piece of paper.
Right.
That's very simple. Now, if in their own company they want to acquire deals, which they do, they have to pay $100,000 a month in marketing. That deal by itself, for them to acquire it through their marketing, might have costed $10,000 anyway. So look at it as you're getting paid a marketing expense. You've found the deal for them. So instead of them paying $10,000 to acquire a deal, they're just paying you $10,000 to acquire a deal. Yeah. It's another avenue, another stream for them to get deals. On top of that, fix and flipper, they're doing 100 deals a year. They have other employees that are finding these deals. They're paying commissions out to these people. Sometimes the cost to acquire a deal for them is more than $10,000. Right. So in some ways, they're getting a deal working for you, or working with you and paying you for these deals. So, what's really important is understanding the fix and flippers business model, that you're saving them money in a lot of ways. You're saving them a lot of headache in a lot of ways. They didn't have to train you to find this deal. You found this deal. Right? This wasn't a 6-month training process as an employee where they had to shadow them for them to be able to find a deal and get a deal brought to them. So you're saving them a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of resources. They didn't need to hire you to find this deal for them. So that's the value you provide. At the end of the day, if you just look at it as you get paid $10,000 and they get a 3 or 4x return on it, anyone in their mostly anyone in their right mind would do that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for breaking that down. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, no, a lot of people have questions on it.
So, my goal at the end of this is to learn how to wholesale real estate in 14 days or less, because that's the average turnaround for us, and, hopefully put a couple grand in my pocket, pay off the student loans that I definitely have. First question then is, let's just get it right into it, and I'll take some notes as well, but how do I start?
Yeah. How do I start?
Start wholesaling,
So we broke it down. Okay, end goal, you want to own rental properties, you want to invest in real estate, right? You want your money to work for you. How do we start, right, wholesaling? How do we start wholesaling? A lot of people's first question is where do they start?
Right.
So, there's a lot of people that see, hey, you can virtually wholesale real estate, and you can, and we do that as well. But what virtual wholesaling is usually when you're doing it in a different state than where you're located. All right, so we're in California, and you want to wholesale in Florida, for example.
Yeah.
Well, if you're just starting out and you have no idea about Florida, you've never been there before, you never visited it, you've just seen the news, hey, people are moving to Miami and Fort Lauderdale and things like that. You have no affinity to it, you have no relationships there, you just don't know anything about the market. I wouldn't recommend just starting virtual wholesaling in that state or any other state besides the one you're actually located in. And I'll break that down because, and I'll use you as an example. So where do you live right now?
Carlsbad.
In Carlsbad,
Yeah,
okay, in
California.
San Diego County.
Yeah.
How long have you lived in San Diego County?
My whole life.
Your whole life in
Yeah.
San Diego County? Okay. So I would say that you probably know more about San Diego County than any other county in the United States.
Yes.
Okay. So a lot of real estate is local knowledge. You may know, okay, Carlsbad's a nice area, right? You live there. You may see development going on in the downtown area. You may see people moving from Northern California, especially after COVID. Hey,
all the
people
time.
want to stay in California, but they want to live by the beach. You may see those developments and housing prices go up on maybe certain neighborhoods versus others. And all of that is local knowledge, right? And you may know in San Diego County areas where there's homeless, where you don't want to buy, and probably where you don't want to fix and flip property, where a lot of crime is happening and maybe gang activity. You're not going to know that if you want to start wholesaling in Florida, that you're buying a house where there's 3 gang shootings every single month, where no one wants to move there. Everyone who lives there in that county knows that, and you're not going to be able to resell that house. And the fix and flippers don't want to buy those houses, and no one wants those houses there. So when you start local, one, you have that local knowledge, whether you know it or not, and that's so important, that knowledge, so you know what are the good streets, what are the bad streets. Now, additionally, what's important too, when you're local is you can go to a property, right? There's going to be properties that you get under contract, or you're talking to your real estate agent, and they're going to say, hey, come meet me at the property today and we can make this deal happen. And if you're in San Diego County and you're looking at a deal in San Diego County, you can go drive there on your lunch break or after work and meet that agent there. If you're doing that in Florida and you're in California, unless you have a jet, you're not going to get there the same day pretty much, right? So you're not going to be able to do that. And I think what a lot of people disregard and people try and shortcut is actually talking to people and actually building relationships. And if you really want to evolve as a real estate investor, let's just say you want to fix and flip property. Like we've done that virtually. It's significantly harder to do it virtually rather than locally.
Right.
If I'm flipping a house 2 blocks away or down the street or 30 minutes away, I can drive there, I can check on the property every day or every other day and make sure my contractors are doing a great job. It's much harder to facilitate that virtually as well. So when we talk about compound learning, when we talk about becoming a real estate investor, when we talk about increasing your likelihood of success, just being local is going to help you so much. So I recommend for you, right? I mean, San Diego County is a great county, right? Some people are, I think as a beginner, right, you might be thinking like, oh, I hear about like these markets, right? Fernando was saying, hey, what's a good market? Oh, is that a hot market? It's like every market's a hot market to invest in, and I think people are trying to look for these different markets and think the grass is greener always over there. And, also people when they're starting out, beginners, when they're starting out, think that competition is bad. If like San Diego County or Denver, Colorado, like people are like, oh, isn't that competitive? That's a freaking great thing. It means people want to buy houses there. And I think people are always trying to do the bare minimum and not do any work. And you're not going to be great at anything or make money at anything if you don't go a little bit more than the next person. You don't go a little bit of the extra mile. So, I'm saying these things to you because I think other people are going to be thinking about like, what about this market or that market? I want to do it virtually. I just recommend starting in your own backyard. Your own backyard in your own county and your surrounding counties. There's more than enough deals to go around.
Yeah, awesome. Like I think kind of the stigma right now is the amount of work kind of involved face to face, but there's a lot of value in that. Is from what you're saying. Not only am I gaining the knowledge to like do these things, but like obviously the end goal is the rental property thing, the passive income thing, and that basis, right, is then built through wholesaling from what you're telling me. Then all of these skills, and I'm glad you brought up the San Diego market thing, because my indication was like, oh well, if everybody wants a house in San Diego, like how can I compete with like the big dogs out there who are like kind of getting these deals as well? So please.
So okay, we're as wholesalers. Let's talk about San Diego County, right? Well, a lot of people want to live here, right? We're not going after the properties that anyone and everyone can buy with a normal mortgage and a normal loan. That's the first most important thing to understand. What we do as wholesalers is we go after distressed property. So that means property in a distressed condition. So it's outdated, it's stuck in the 60s, maybe it has mold, overgrown shrubbery, water damage, fire damage, anything along those lines, right? It's outdated because in that situation, what that does is it disqualifies anyone who can get a mortgage being able to buy that property.
Right.
So automatically what happens, it means that that property needs to go to an investor, no matter what. So just right away, we disqualify 90, 95% of people that can buy this property. So if you don't have that knowledge and you're starting out and you're going after properties that are full retail, meaning they're beautifully renovated properties, that property is not going to be wholesaled. You're not going to get a deal on that deal because you're competing with the open market on it. When we start looking at properties that are distressed, that can actually be flipped, and when it's in this distressed condition, when a normal home buyer can't get a loan on it, what that means is it needs to be purchased for all cash. All right. And as investors, as wholesalers, we're going after properties that need to be purchased for all cash. Because in that situation, that means a fix and flipper is going to want to buy it, right? In this space, what's important to understand, fix and flippers are buying properties for all cash, either leveraging their own cash or more than likely leveraging lenders like private money lenders or hard money lenders. So we, as wholesalers, put offers on these properties all cash. We wholesale them to these cash buyers, aka fix and flippers. So when we look at a market, and I was just working with another student in a different county in California. We pulled up some data real quickly and we saw 168 properties that were listed as fixer-uppers, distressed properties that needed to go all cash in her county. Those are 168 opportunities on the open market live right now. And so a lot of people starting out think that you have to go directly to a seller and door knock or put out bandit signs on the side of the road, say we buy houses, and have a seller reach out to you saying, hey, I want to sell my house. But what we've done is we've flipped the script on the whole industry since the beginning, and we've been doing this for over 12 years. We go onto the active open market. We look at all the properties listed for sale by real estate agents because we know that from looking at the National Association of Realtors, 86 to 91% of all houses that are sold every single year are on the MLS, on the open market, or with the real estate agent. So instead of focusing on the sliver of off-market deals, I want to focus on a blue ocean of deals where there's always new distressed listings coming up every single day.
Yeah. That was going to be my next question is how many like distressed properties like come across your table? I mean, for any wholesaler's table, because to me, it's like, okay, I don't look at these stats. So it's a concern of mine would be like, are these distressed properties going to come up all the time? How frequent would you say they come up?
Yeah, I started in 2012, and pretty much every single day there's distressed properties that come up on the market.
Yeah.
I haven't ever seen a time where they're not on the market. Yeah. And so that's an important thing to understand. You need to understand, like, for example, what's the divorce rate in the United States?
I mean, they say 50%, maybe close to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe around 50%. So let's say someone's going through a divorce and they're having a hard time, and it's one of their old properties and they don't really care about it and they just want to sell this property quickly, plus the property's in distressed condition. That's happening all the freaking time. I mean, how many people are losing their jobs, right? So first I talked about, hey, properties in distressed condition that are old and outdated. You pair that with someone who's in a distressed situation, they've lost their job, they're behind on their payments, they're going through a divorce. That's when you're going to have motivation on someone who wants to sell their actual property. Mm-hmm. And that's happening every single day across the United States. And that's going to continue to happen. The only way that's not going to happen is when we solve, 100% employment rate. We solve 100% of people get married, don't have divorces. Yeah. We solve, no one being silly with their money and making every single mortgage payment. And I don't see that happening anytime soon.
We're still working on it.
Yeah, we're still working on it. So when a lot of what you're telling me are some good beginner limiting beliefs, but you have to understand that every single day these opportunities are coming on the market. Right. We just wholesaled this deal. We have a wholesale check right here. Been doing this for a long time.
How much is that for?
$18,750. So, right, these deals are always here. We've been doing this for a long time, but, right, we just looked on the other day, right? You showed me this deal, and
yeah, my first lookup that I showed Alex, yeah.
And then we started going into it and how not going about it the right way, but that was a distressed deal. And in the description it said, hey, this is a fixer-upper and perfect for an investment. And so the real estate agent is they're admitting that this is an investment deal. It's going to go to an investor.
Right.
And what you need to understand when we're dealing on the open market is that we can compete. You and I can compete against companies that have been doing this for 20 years because if we talk to this real estate agent, they like us, they trust us, they believe that we have the ability to close on this deal, which we do when we have our cash buyers lined up, and we have the same offer price as another investor. Why wouldn't they go with us? If it's the same exact price, it's going to go to an investor, it's going to go all cash, and we are more communicative, and we paid this agent the time of day, and we gave him no reason to think that we could not close on this deal. Why wouldn't they go with our offer? And that's just what we see time and time again for years on why we're able to get these deals that are on the MLS listed with real estate agents.
Right.
And just one more thing, why, as a wholesaler, right, as a fix and flipper, as someone who wants to buy rental properties, what we're always looking for as a real estate investor are motivated sellers, people that want to sell, all right? So anytime a house is for sale with a real estate agent, that seller is motivated to sell their property. They want to sell their property. I want motivated sellers, you want motivated sellers. That's how we're able to close transactions and get deals. So you understand when a house is on the market, on the MLS, on Redfin, listed with a real estate agent, that seller is willing and motivated to sell their house. And now all we need to do is find the ones that are distressed that need to go all cash at that particular point. So finding and filtering these deals then becomes important.
Right. So I'm going to break down what I think you said in the amount of time that we've had, 30 minutes. Oh my gosh. I'm in San Diego, but I want to wholesale real estate. I picked my local market first.
Yep.
I'm going to find distressed properties, which are properties that a fix and flipper or another investor will find value in after they renovate it.
Yep.
What comes next after that? Because, I mean, say I gave you the property the other day. Okay, I literally came into your office and was like, okay, now what? So that's what comes next.
Yeah. So before you even go and find the deal, right, to start talking about kind of the MLS and the way to think about and these types of properties and our approach, you want to begin with the end in mind, right? So you sell these properties to cash buyers. That's what you do. Cash buyers are fix and flippers. I explained that they want as many deals as they can get, right? If they can spend $10,000, make $30,000 of profit, they will do that all day. They'll buy all of your deals, which is why you find one great cash buyer, they can pay you over 6 figures in a year, okay? So the first step is, instead of you going out and finding random properties in random cities and random zip codes, and you don't have a buyer in mind, because let's run through that situation real quick. Let's say you get a random house under contract at random numbers, and you don't know what you're doing, but you get under contract. Now you got to go find the fix and flipper that wants to buy it.
Right.
And you talk to them, they say, hey, you know what? We don't buy in that zip code. We don't buy in that area. We don't want that type of deal. Hey, you got a 2-1 under contract. We only like 3 2s. Now you've done all this work, and you can't match it up with a buyer who doesn't want it. Because just because you get a deal under contract or a house under contract doesn't mean you're going to be able to wholesale it. So what we want to do is work smarter, not harder. We want to find our cash buyers first. Which they're abundant. It's very easy for us to do it. We've done it for a long, long time. There's multiple ways to find these cash buyers, and one easy way that we've coined the Google Ninja trick is, cash buyers, what they do is they'll build websites where they want to attract motivated sellers.
Right.
And so if you're in San Diego County, you type in "Sell My House Fast San Diego," then you're going to go to Google. You're going to find companies have invested into their websites, invested in the marketing that want to rank for Sell My House Fast because they believe a motivated seller is going to type that into Google. So right away, you're going to find sophisticated investors, cash buyers that have invested capital into their website. And now in 1, 2, 3 minutes, sometimes seconds, you find these cash buyers, and now you reach out to them, you talk to them, you speak to them, and you understand what are your needs? What do you want? What types of deals are you doing? What areas do you like to buy property in? How many properties are you doing every single month? Right? We basically interview them. You're developing a customer profile. The cash buyer is your customer. You're finding deals for them.
Right.
They're going to pay you. So instead of, this is where so many people get stuck and go get excited finding a deal. I'm going to find a deal, and you know what? The cash buyer is going to fall out of the sky. I'm going to find the perfect deal for this cash buyer I don't even know, that I haven't even talked to. And then they get the deal under contract. They, a cash buyer doesn't want it, and then they're discouraged. They say, hey, this doesn't work. When the reality is they just made their job way harder for them. So my first step to you is leverage the Google Ninja trick. There's other strategies too, and we give out a lot of free resources, so probably just put up some free resources how to find these particular cash buyers, but Google Ninja trick's one. And then another one, if you're serious about real estate investing, this is what most people will not do, is I want you to attend Real Estate Investing Association meetings. So over 12 years ago when I started, young buck, 19, 20 years old, I attended every single real estate investing association within an hour and a half of my area.
Yeah.
And these are meetings where real estate investors go and hang out. So if you're serious about being a real estate investor, you attend these meetings, and you can just Google Real Estate Investor Association meeting and your city name. And there's one in Mission Valley over here, like 10, 15 minutes away. There's one in Fallbrook, and then one in Del Mar. And I would attend all of those every single month. So they're usually once a month meetings. Sometimes there'd be 10 investors there, sometimes 50, sometimes 75. And they all aren't investors, but they're people that want to work with investors. And also know what happens there is people go up and speak in front of the room, in front of 50 people, and say, hey, here's a fix and flip deal we just did. Here's a deal case study. And then they say, you know what? I have an ask for the room. I want you to bring me deals. So now you have a cash buyer because you attended to this investor association meeting. You went there. You did what most people don't do. Most people won't go to a meeting. This is why I was talking about virtual wholesaling. Most people aren't trying to do like the little work of drive 15 or 20 minutes, go to a meeting, find a cash buyer. You can shake their hand, look them in the eye, see what types of deals they're looking for. By the way, they're telling you in front of the whole entire room what types of deals they're looking for. And now, real estate it's a numbers game, but it's also a relationships game, right? We need this cash buyer to close on this deal. We need to be communicative with them. They need to communicate to us. And people are most likely going to respond to your texts a lot more if you meet them in person. You shake their hand, you look them in the eye, you take a server approach, you ask what types of properties are they looking for, and now you bring them those exact properties, right? And what I always suggest, no matter what, find 3 to 5 local cash buyers in your area doing multiple deals every single month. And you may ask, well, how do you, well, we talked about how to find them. How do you make sure they're actually doing deals? You talk to them. You ask them, how many deals are you doing per month?
How did you, like 18, 19 years old at these, RIA meetings, how did you like introduce yourself? Were you just like, I'm a new investor, or did you say wholesaler? Like I don't know how to go about that conversation. I have nothing under my belt, so it's a very nerve-wracking interaction, you know what I mean? And it's only kind of early on in the process. So how would you recommend that someone like me, say I went to a RIA tomorrow, kind of introduce myself, like, and my real estate experience?
Yeah, for you, I'd say, hey, my name's Tim. Just want to come here, learn more about real estate investing, and I'm actively looking for wholesale and flip deals as well. Are you wholesaling or flipping by any chance? Oh, you're flipping? Oh, perfect. What types of deals are you looking for? And I'll just roll into that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Do you think if I bring you a deal that fits your criteria and hits your minimum profit, do you think you'd be interested in that? And say, yeah. Okay, great. What are you looking for?
It's that simple, huh?
It's that simple.
Yeah.
Like every single fix and flipper, what they want are more deals.
Yeah.
So, you can, if you haven't done a deal before, hey, I'm interested in wholesaling and flipping. What types of deals are you looking for? Basically what you're saying is like, I'm going to work for you for free. I'm going to find you exactly what you want.
Yeah.
Just tell me. And now you're in person with them. Yeah. Where are they going to go? I mean, that fix and flipper is there at that meeting to get deals.
Yeah.
They want to talk to people like you. So if you say, hey, I'm interested in finding you deals, I'm interested in finding these deals and getting started, I'd love to chat with you. And maybe if you're busy right now, maybe I can buy you coffee or lunch and we can sit down and talk about it.
Right.
So a lot of those subsequent meetings happen. So there's so many people that have never ever wholesaled real estate and then start wholesaling houses, and fix and flippers know that too. It's like if they get in with you and you're willing to put in the work and they're communicative to you and tell you exactly what you want, and you say, hey, I'm really close to getting this deal under contract. I talked to the agent and I can get it at $452,000. And does that work for you? Because I can put it under contract right now. We can assign it to you. Mm-hmm. And now they know, cool, if they give you an answer in 1 hour, they have a deal in their hands. Yeah. So that's exactly how I would approach it. Mm-hmm. Just like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of the stigma I've come across where it's like I always want to do things like I guess as fast as possible. That way I can move on to something else. So the personal connection is very important is what I'm hearing because these once that relationship is built, then the consistency of them buying from you increases.
Yeah. And like I stated earlier, like, I use this word cash buyers, but what I want to challenge you to do is there's a name behind a cash buyer. Their name might be Troy, might be Brian.
Right.
So I say cash buyers, but you're really talking to Troy. You're talking to Brian.
Yeah.
You're developing a relationship with that person.
Yeah.
Maybe the CEO of the company and maybe the acquisitions manager of the company. They're the decision maker. It's not like you put a property under contract, you don't talk to anyone, and somehow you just get a $10,000 check in the mail. You're talking to Brian about this deal. You know about this deal. You talked to the agent. You saw it was a good deal. Brian's asking you questions about it. You're answering about it, and you're helping him out on this deal and making him feel confident about purchasing this and getting an ROI on his flip.
Right.
So the personal relationships are important, and a lot of people are going to skip over that. And it's just a knowledge gap. People don't know what they don't know, right? And a lot of people think cash buyers are faceless, right? They have this assumption it's a faceless cash buyer. But when I talk about Troy, I see his face. When I talk about Brian, I see his face. When I talk about JD, I see his face, right? That's who I'm talking to. I'm talking about this deal. So then I have a relationship with them. I'm talking to them. We're on a text basis, call basis, phone basis. We're able to make decisions quickly together. They know if they give me information of yes, they can do this deal, we can put it under contract, you make $10,000, they make their 30, 40, 50. So once you're armed with that knowledge, now you stop asking questions, why would they want to work with me? Why, why?
Yeah.
And people work with who they like and trust, and I'll say that time and time again. So have them like and trust you. Like, how do you not waste a cash buyer's time? Ask what the hell they want.
Right.
How do you become attractive to anyone in life? You say, hey, what do you want? I'm going to help you get that too. That's all we're doing here.
Yeah. And you've alleviated something in this conversation too, where it's like I'm not only looking for them, they're looking for people like me, which is a really big barrier that has kind of stopped me from starting earlier because it's like, oh, I'm just like some guy that they're gonna just say, hey, like screw off or whatever, So
they're looking for you, and they're looking for the person that's willing to roll up their sleeves and do a little more work than the next person.
Right.
Because most people are amateurs and most people aren't going to do the work. Most people aren't going to talk to them. Most people are going to just try and send a text message about a deal and never ever talk to them, or they use the Google Ninja trick I talked about and they don't talk to them, they don't ask what they want, and they say, hey, I have a cash buyer, then they go out find deals, and then they try and establish a relationship with them and talk to them, and they say, hey, this doesn't work, and it's because now they have a deal under contract, it has a 14-day close on it, they've never talked to this cash buyer before, and the first time they got it, say, hey, I need you to come to the property right now in 3 hours, and they're like, who the heck are you?
Yeah.
Who are you to talk to me? Like, I don't even know who you are.
Yeah.
So when you approach it as, hey, I don't even have a deal under contract. This is another important thing, as a beginner, people say, oh my gosh, do I need a deal to talk to these people? And you don't.
Yeah.
It can help in some ways. You have a deal under contract for sure, but the next question is, how do you even know what a good deal is?
Right.
You know what a good deal is when you talk to your cash buyers who buy your deals and they tell you what they want. That's what a good deal is.
Yeah.
So people are just like theoretically trying to figure this game out of like, no, I'm going to find the deal first. It's a good deal. You don't know what a good deal is if you don't talk to a cash buyer and they tell you what a good deal is.
Yeah.
So talking to these cash buyers first is extremely important, and
definitely my mistake was trying to look first. Okay, so I was in San Diego. Let's say I have my list of 3 to 5 cash buyers. I built my relationship. They know me by my first name. I know them by their first name. Okay, where do I find the deals? What the heck is a good one?
So okay, you talk to the cash buyers, you figure out where they want to buy. They're going to tell you what's a good deal. You can ask them like, what's their minimum profit? they're looking for on a deal. Hey, do you use any formulas, any specific deal calculators you use? I've had cash buyers send me their deal calculators, how they analyze deals. And so now I'm seeing the exact numbers that they input. And I know whether it's a good deal or bad deal because does it fit their numbers or not. And I won't go into like all the questions that we asked there. We have created a free resource, so I'll put that in the description for anyone who wants our cash buyer script on exactly what to say. And so now let's go into finding these deals, right? Let's say you found these cash buyers, you find out what they want. Now at this particular point, how do we find these deals, right? So what we love is the MLS. The MLS is the multiple listing service. It's a database, it's a software created and maintained by real estate professionals. And this is where all of the properties that are on the market listed by real estate agents are uploaded to. Every day there's properties uploaded to it. So you want to get access to the MLS. So in certain counties, you can get access to it if you're unlicensed by getting assistant access. An agent grants you access to it. You can get clerical access, the same thing as assistant access, or you become licensed to get access to it. Or there's other ways too. Sometimes an agent will just give you access to their MLS and you can use it. So it's a database of all these leads on the market. And if you want to be a serious real estate investor, there's no better database and software than that, 100%, okay? Let me make it easier for you though. Let's say you're like, hey man, I just want to get started right now. I don't want to talk to any real estate agents about getting access to the MLS and you don't want to get your real estate license. Let's just use redfin.com, for example. So redfin.com, very smart website. It's a real estate brokerage. And a lot of the times, the properties that are listed on the MLS for sale on the open market are going to be put onto Redfin because these agents can click a button that says syndicate, put it on realtor.com, redfin.com. So what we like to do when we look at properties on Redfin, let's say you pull up San Diego County, for example, there's a few ways to do it. What I always like to do is let me just sort through all the new listings on a day-to-day basis in the last 24 hours, and I'm going to see the ones that look distressed in that distressed condition, and I'm going to read the description as well, right? Just like that property we looked at. It said fixer-upper. It's an investment property. That's what I want to call on. I'm not going to go look at the photos of a property that's beautifully renovated. It says, hey, this is perfect for the first-time home buyer, move in with your kids, it's move-in ready. That's not a distressed property. So this particular strategy of looking at listings that are listed within the first 24 hours, call this our day zero strategy because it's less than 1 day. And this has been one of our most powerful strategies to acquire wholesale and flip deals and even buy and hold deals from the MLS, from on the market. And you then want to find, maybe today, for example, there'd be 10 distressed properties that were listed today that we see. And then you sort those 10 properties through the ones that look the most distressed because the properties that are the most distressed with the most issues, you're going to be able to get the steepest discount.
Right.
So now I'm going to call on that particular property first, call on that real estate agent first. And I'm not going to have you analyze the property and spend hours and hours analyzing it first. I want you to call that real estate agent, introduce yourself, let them know you're an investor and a buyer in the area. Ask them if they're open and willing to represent you because you're a buyer, not a real estate agent. And what that does is influence them to go with your offer because now they'll make twice as much commission if they accept your offer. And if we can break that down if you want to talk about that. And now we're inquiring about the property, right? What's the condition like of it, right? Do the pictures actually match what's going on? Because what some people will do is they'll find a property, they won't call the agent, they'll look at the listing and they'll wait a week and they'll be like, oh, I got this deal and and if they would have called that agent same day, they would have found out that, hey, actually an hour after it was listed, it was actually under contract already, and the agent just waited to, just forgot to mark it as pending and under contract.
Yeah.
So now they spent a whole week dreaming about this deal, didn't call on it, then they call on it, and you know what? For 6 of those 7 days, majority of them, it wasn't even available.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is call these agents very quickly, speed's the name of the game, get in front of them, understand about the property, understand that yes, this is going to go to an investor. And then what I always do from that first initial call is say, great, let me go ahead and analyze this property with my team and I'll be able to get back to you as soon as possible, all right? Because what most amateurs will do is they'll fumble on this first phone call, they'll throw out a random number that they can't stick to. They'll have to backtrack on it. You know, they get it for, oh, I'll buy it for, you know, the list price, $500,000, right?
Yeah.
And then you actually look at it and you're like, dang, I need it for 450.
Yeah.
And now you're already backtracking. So
Not a good look then, right?
oh, it's not a good look. Yeah, you're already threw out the first number and you're asking for a $50,000 discount.
Yeah.
Whereas, let's say in that situation, right? Because we acquire tons of properties below the list price. If it's, you know, $500,000, it's not uncommon to get it under contract at $400,000. The list price is arbitrary. It's flexible and negotiable. So if you throw out that price, you get them excited about a high list price, and then you call them an hour later and say, oh my gosh, sorry, I actually have to do it at $450. You're shooting yourself in the foot. So that first call, right, we're calling the agent, we're inquiring about the deal, letting them know, hey, I'll be able to get back to you as soon as possible after I meet with my team and analyze this deal and see exactly where we can come in at to make this work today. Now, once you talk to the agent, you have a positive conversation, you confirmed it's distressed property, you confirm it's going all cash, they tell you more about the property, what's actually going on with it. They may even tell you the seller's motivation. That's what we always like to dig into, the seller's motivation. Why are they looking to sell? Because now we can play to that and actually fulfill on that, be a solutions provider for that particular seller. For example, if they need a quick close on the property and need to rent the property back for 30 days, instead of us kicking their butts out of the property, hey, more than happy, we can purchase this property, we'll rent it back to the seller for 30 days. If they need to stay 45 days, that's completely fine. So now we're being a solutions provider, helping out the seller through their issues and what they're afraid is going to happen if they just go with a random buyer and fulfilling on those needs. But after that first initial phone call, now at this particular point, now I want you to analyze the deal. Because now you've confirmed that's a deal worth analyzing. As opposed to the person that finds all these deals, analyzes tens, dozens of deals, never makes a phone call. Or maybe they find 10 deals, they analyze it, and you call 5 hours later, but there was someone else who beats you to the punch at the same exact offer price because they're doing it the way that I told you to do it. Call the agent first, verify, now analyze it. It's a hot lead.
Yeah.
Now analyze it and then call back the agent as soon as possible.
I was very sad because the house that I found on Redfin was pending within a couple days. So speed is real. Yeah, I didn't actually realize it until I saw that, and it was like, okay, well, who would want to buy this like distressed house? But then I realized it's like a lot of people, and you have to be fast,
Yeah, and so that most likely went to a wholesaler fix and flipper, that property. And that's when, we can then check the tax records, look at it, we can confirm that. And that's when the question you have to ask after that is like, why not me? Why can't I do that? Right. And you absolutely can do that. Yeah.
Really quick question on the calling the agent. Yeah. How would you introduce yourself the same way you would introduce yourself to like a cash buyer?
Great question. So, okay. I do not say I'm a wholesaler to a real estate agent. Never say that. You don't want to say that because there's a lot of people that are amateur wholesalers, have no idea what they're doing. They watch a 20-second TikTok video and then try this, and they don't know what they're doing, and they're 16 years old, and they say I'm a wholesaler, and they waste everyone's time. So you don't say you're a wholesaler to a real estate agent. And I don't consider this lying at all. Like wholesaling, just so everyone understands, has been going on since the beginning of time, right? There's, like, I've friends that are attorneys that wholesale commercial properties and office buildings. They just call it an assignment of contract. The general name for it's wholesaling. So you don't even have to label yourself as a wholesaler. The way I look at myself as a real estate investor, I've been wholesaling and fixing and flipping from a very young age. So I've always looked at myself as a buyer, as an investor, and I recommend every single person looks at themselves as this way. Because if you tell a real estate agent you're a wholesaler, what you're telling them is you're not the decision maker. And they want to talk to decision makers. When you say, hey, I'm a buyer and investor, you're implying that you are the decision maker. And so it's all these little things, right? Automatically, if anyone's listening to this and wants to wholesale real estate, if you're telling real estate agents that you're a wholesaler and you haven't got any deals, that's probably one of the biggest reasons why. Yeah. So you're Tim, hey, you're a buyer and investor, right? So that's what you say.
Yeah. Got it. Which I am, or, hope to be after the end of this, right?
Yeah, and it's like, you are an investor, you've invested in the stocks and everything along those lines. And I also believe it's like, you're not going to become a real estate investor until you see yourself as one.
Right.
So if you're telling yourself every single day, I'm not a real estate investor, I'm not a real estate investor, I'm not a real estate investor, and like you're not saying you're a real estate investor and you're telling other people you're not a real estate investor, you're probably not going to become a real estate investor. If you say I'm a real estate investor and like to yourself, your self-talk is like, I'm looking at these properties, I'm going to find my next deal, I'm going to find a profitable deal. Like I'm a real estate investor. This is why I'm reading the books. This is why I'm taking the courses. This is why I'm getting the coaches. This is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm taking my daily actions. Then I believe you are a real estate investor. And so the more you believe that you are one, and I'm a real estate investor without a doubt, like start believing like that without a doubt. Because even before I did my first deal, I believed that without a doubt. Just like anyone who's successful in anything, they have to believe that they can be that thing without a doubt. So, you know, and if someone's listening to this and aren't capable of doing that, then they need to work on their own self-talk. They need to work on their own mindset. They need to work on their self-concept and their self-image. That's very, very, very important.
Yeah.
I mean, confidence is a huge thing, and it's, you know, another one of the big barriers that I have. You know, it's because I don't have a backing in this. I basically feel like I'm going into an interview without any credentials, a blank resume. You know, so I mean, what advice do you have for somebody like that who is just trying to get over that hump?
Yeah, just get started. It's reps. You know, like I thought about getting into jiu-jitsu and martial art for a long time, and thinking about it never got me anywhere. And you know, and you have to you have to change your relationship with rejection and failure. You know, anytime we try something new, and this is why I last year did a ton of triathlons. Like, do you think I like swimming for 30 minutes straight at full pace? I don't. I absolutely hate it, but I do it because I was never a swimmer. I wasn't trained to be a swimmer. And I like challenging myself and doing things that I absolutely stink at. So I always have that beginner's mindset and be like, oh yeah, it's whenever you try something new, it's going to stink, you know, and you're going to do things the wrong way, and then you figure out how to do it the right way. So I encourage you just to get started. Once you know the steps and what you need to do the first step, find a cash buyer. Do you know how long that takes to find a cash buyer? Like 1 minute. 1 minute you can do it.
I was going to say hours, but
yeah. So I would no 1 minute, dude. So you can force yourself to call this cash buyer, and then you're gonna be scared. You're gonna be nervous, and then you're like, oh, like that was a fine conversation, and now you're stacking. Like you're like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking about this all the wrong way. Like you know, I build this cash buyer up as someone that doesn't want to talk to me, doesn't want these deals. Like you could be the knight in shining armor for a cash buyer that saves their business, that brings them. I brought dozens of deals to cash buyers throughout the years. And it's one of the most profitable investments for them, paying me wholesale fees. It's one of the main ways they get deals. You know, like I'm changing their life and their kids' lives and their families' lives. So it's understanding that you have the ability to do that too. You have an extreme amount of value. And just once you have enough knowledge, you're never gonna have 100% knowledge of anything. I'll tell you that right now. As long as what I like to think, you know, I have 51% of the knowledge that I know. Hey, I know all the steps, I know what I need to say. I don't know exactly what to say, but I got the script, I know how to find them. I have a phone, I know how to type in a phone number. I know how to talk. Damn, I'm 95% of what I need to do. Let me just go do it. So once you feel like you have that knowledge, then it's just about doing it. And here's the thing. The worst thing that's going to happen, you talk to a cash buyer, they say, no, I don't want to work with you. It's the worst thing that's going to happen. So if that's the worst thing that's going to happen, you got to realize that. Everyone has to realize that and understand it's like, okay, if you can't handle that, if your ego can't handle that, entrepreneurship, investing probably isn't going to be, you know, for you, and you have to be able to get over that. You have to, like a lot of people stay inside their comfort zone, and it's because their own ego, whether they know it or not, can't handle stepping outside their comfort zone and getting that rejection. So you have to be willing to get a bruised ego. You have to be willing to put yourself out there a little bit, knowing that the worst thing that's going to happen is someone says, no, I don't want to work with you.
worst they can say is no, right? Yeah.
And in wholesaling, right, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm putting these $500,000 properties under contract. The worst thing that happens is you cancel a contract. That's the worst thing that happens. And you're not liable, you're not obligated by this property because you back out of the contract because you have contingencies. So people are afraid, oh my gosh, what happens if I don't find a buyer? You back out of the contract. So you have to understand what's the very worst thing that can happen and be fine with that.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not really bad.
Yeah.
And I would say the more that worst thing that happens, the more successful you're going to be.
Yeah.
Like I didn't I didn't get to where I am today by not failing, right? I got where the first deal I put under contract I didn't close, and all that did was provide feedback on I need to find better deals and better cash buyers and get better with my numbers.
How many deals did you do before you closed your first one?
It was relatively quickly of the first. Well, first I tried like a lot of off-market strategies and wasted a lot of time doing that, and would drive downtown San Diego, get probate records, write the mailers, and put out bandit signs. Or field calls from bandit signs, and like that, I generated conversations, but not really offers. And then the first deal I wanted to call on the MLS, I did put it under contract. It didn't work out, and I believe it was that very next one that I did put under contract, and it actually did work out. So that was also a big changing point for me too, right? Because I heard off market, on market, and I was like, let me try this on market thing because the seller's already motivated, they want to sell. So it was actually the second contract that I put under contract that worked out.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Well, I have the confidence now. Hopefully, I am a real estate investor with the confidence to start. So let's say I have a property. I talk to the agent. How do we go about knowing it's a good wholesale deal? How do we go about analyzing wholesale properties? Because that seems like a lot.
Okay, so we called the agent, right? They say, hey, this is a deal that's going to go all cash to an investor. Hey, the seller has motivation, right? These are the deals we're looking for. Because you talk to your cash buyer, you understand what type of ROI or return they're looking for. Now, a very elementary way of analyzing deals is going to be something called the MAO formula, the maximum allowable offer. So most people, amateurs, think that the MAO formula, what it strictly means is a cash buyer will buy a property where you analyze for the ARV, the after repair value. That's the future value it's going to sell at. You multiply that by 70%. So if it's a $500,000 property times 70%, that's going to be $350,000. And then you subtract your repair costs. Let's say it costs $50,000 on this renovation. I'll break all these numbers down. What that means is now your maximum allowable offer, the maximum allowable offer the fix and flipper will accept, their purchase price will be $300,000 in order to fix and flip this deal and make $500,000. In order to sell it for $500,000. So this is a very elementary rule, okay? But I have to share this because some people just like read forums or watch some YouTube videos and then, just not talk to cash buyers and just use that as their way of analyzing deals, like this elementary rule. But when we talk to cash buyers and we say, hey, how do you find out if it's a profitable deal or not? How do you understand what's a good deal or not for you? They may say, you know what? 82% of the ARV minus repairs, that's the price I will buy it at all day. So they're giving you the goal. They're telling you exactly where they will buy it at. Because I talked to them. And what we need to understand is that's a very simple rule. 80% of the ARV minus repairs. Guess what? If it's 83% of the ARV minus repairs, like you do the math, it's that, and it's a little more than what they told you they could buy it at, they could probably still buy it at that number.
Yeah, they're still going to do it at that. Yeah.
So even when a cash buyer tells you, hey, what's a good deal, a lot of people talk to one cash buyer, they say 70% of the ARV, which let me just tell you that this rule, anyone should buy the property if you get at 70% of the ARV minus repairs. That's a great deal for anyone. And I encourage, if you're a wholesaler, you should probably buy that property because there's so much margin in there that for your first fix and flip deal, you're probably going to come out with a profit on that deal because there's so much margin in there. So that the lower the percentage, 70%, 65%, that's built-in margin for the fix and flipper of like risk, basically. It's covering the closing costs, all additional fees in there. And so, but what I want to do, okay, so it's an elementary rule. How do we know if it's a good deal, right? And as a wholesaler, as a fix and flipper, there's the big three numbers that I like to talk about. So one's the after repair value, So let's say we find a distressed property on the market, it's listed at $500,000. What I need to do is now look at this property after I called the agent and say, hey, once this property is fixed up, what is it going to sell for in its best possible condition?
Right, and that's ARV.
That's ARV, after repair value. So after it's been renovated. We have to do our best to estimate what it will sell for in its best possible condition, because this is exactly what a cash buyer is doing. So we can look through the lens of a cash buyer on how they analyze a deal. This is exactly how they analyze the deal. Then we know, where does our wholesale fee fit in? Because what I'll break down is how we determine the ARV, after repair value, how we determine the repairs cost, because that's the cost the fix and flipper needs to pay. Now what we need to do is build in our wholesale fee. How much money you want to make? $10,000, $20,000. Now that determines our purchase price. So we reverse engineer every single deal so we know exactly where we need to offer to ensure that you make your desired wholesale fee. And so we ensure that this is a good price for that fix and flipper, and they'll do it all day. So for the ARV, what we want to do is you find comparable properties. You find sold comparable properties around a half-mile radius of our subject property, the property we're analyzing, the distressed property, that have sold within the last 6 months, that are plus or minus 20% of the square footage of that property. So if the property was 1,200 square feet, plus or minus 20%, roughly 200 and change of square footage. So you're going to look at properties probably around like 980 to 1440, around there of square feet. You want the same bed bath count. So if the property we're looking at is a 3-bed, 2-bath, I'm not looking at 5-bed, 6-bath houses that are 5,000 square feet. I'm looking in this range of properties that are very similar to the property we're looking at, ideally within the same neighborhood. So they're called comparables because they're comparable to our property. And we're just looking for the renovated properties that are like our property, so that we can say, hey, if these 3 comps in the same neighborhood, in the same area, have sold in the last 6 months that have been renovated, they all sold at $625,000, then I have a high degree of certainty once my property is renovated, it's all the same stuff. Like maybe there's a house on the same street, same backyard, same views. They all sold for $625,000. High degree of certainty that my property is going to sell for $625,000.
Yeah.
High degree of certainty. So now I called the big 3 numbers. That's our ARV. We've now determined, hey, this is what the property will sell for, more than likely.
Yeah. So the property that I was showing to you was, I think, $800,000. Yep. And then the renovated ones, I believe, not sure, but about over $1 million, 900,000 to over $1 million. So, I mean, from what you just told me, after the repairs and they resell it, it could go for about 900,000 to $1 million, and that is the after repair value then, because of these comps in the area. So those were all in the same neighborhood. Is there like a distance range you recommend? Because like, what if I go like 20 miles out, and it's still the same square footage, same bed bath? Like, where should I kind of stick to?
Yeah. So this comp criteria, I'm telling you right now, these are principles for comping property that we've been using for 12 years and we still use today. So one of the things I mentioned was within a half-mile radius. Half-mile radius, and you can use tools on the MLS, on Redfin, to determine that. Click and drag or draw a circle. And we want these comparables to be in the same city and same zip code. Okay, because once you start going to different cities, there's different tax laws, there's different schools, there's a lot of differences, and we're trying to eliminate differences. So same city, same zip code, roughly 20% plus or minus the square footage, same bed bath count, half-mile radius. And the half-mile radius is to ensure that you're not popping over 20 miles away. Right. Because let me break it down. The biggest reason why we do this, at the end of the day, when you renovate a property and you put it up for sale in the open market, the person that's going to dictate the price, you're going to get offers on the property from first-time home buyers. What needs to happen is something called an appraisal. That first-time home buyer is going to get a loan from a bank. An appraisal happens. An appraiser comes out of the property and says, hey, is the value actually $625,000 on this property? The appraiser dictates the price. Do you know how the appraisal dictates the price, or the appraiser? Exactly what I just told you. Half-mile radius, comps that have sold in the last 6 months, plus or minus 20% square footage of the property, same bed bath count. same city, same zip code. So we're analyzing the property as actually how the prices of houses are dictated across the entire United States. So I'm not telling you to do anything different than how property is actually valued in the United States. If I was telling you to do anything different, I'd be doing you an extreme disservice.
Have you ever come across a distressed property that didn't have anything renovated in that range? And yeah.
Typically, a distressed property has nothing renovated in that range. What's going to happen is we're probably in like a very rural area. And what you need to understand, for a fix and flipper to actually do an investment to buy a property, they need comps, comparables. If you can't determine the ARV, if there's no comps, why would a fix and flipper take on the risk of doing this deal when they have no idea what's going to be? So if you find dumb money or a dumb cash buyer, they may do it, but the likelihood of that person's probably already out of business if they've been doing deals like that. So now here's like a caveat. There's always exceptions to the rule, right? So let's just say, hey, the property you're looking at is a 2-bed, 1-bath. It's distressed, and there's no 2-bed, 1-baths. Well, then you look in the area half mile and say, let me look, are there 3-bed, 2-baths? Holy crap, there's all 3-bed, 2-baths in this area. But I can buy this property substantially at a lower price than all these 3-2s. Now let me analyze for turning this property into a 3-bed, 2-bath. And you know what? For me developing and adding square footage on this property, I can turn it into a 3-bed, 2-bath. Now it's a profitable deal.
As long as they have like the land to do it, right? Or the area to do it, That's really interesting,
Exactly. And but more than likely, right, if you can't find comps for your property, it's more than likely it's not going to be a good deal. Because no one's going to want to buy it. And so ask me how I know. I've done it before. And then additionally, right, people are going to listen to this and still do that deal and try and wholesale it and be like, wow. So yeah, that's why I want to use that comp criteria. So, okay, ARV, now repairs, okay? We have to determine how much it's going to cost to repair this property. Another thing you probably have no idea about, right? No one has any idea about it. So here's another thing why finding cash buyers are important. Ask them, how do you determine repairs on a property? Do you use any rules of thumb, right? Because they could tell you, hey, you know what? We use $45 per square foot. So the property's 1,000 square feet, we multiply by $45, and that's a $45,000 renovation for a 1,000 square foot property for all cosmetic, right? So now it gives you a rule of thumb to quickly analyze for repairs. And this is something where no one starts out being good at analyzing repairs. The more you wholesale and fix and flip houses, the better you can get at analyzing repairs, not only repairs, but the ARV too. And this is where reps are extremely important. But we always use that rule of thumb, but that comes from our experience of talking to cash buyers, right? Most people are going to watch this, and because I said $45, they're going to use it, and they didn't talk to cash buyers in the area.
But it depends on them, the cash buyer, how they do it, and then you apply it to their criteria.
Exactly, and let me tell you why. Let's say you have a cash buyer that's only done 2 deals before and doesn't have great contractors, and his cost to renovate a property is $60 per square foot for a cosmetic renovation. That's different compared to the fix and flipper does 100 flips a year, and it's got his own contracting crews and is phenomenal at what he does and pays $35 per square foot. Significant difference in how to analyze repairs. So when you find 3 to 5 cash buyers and you ask them this question as well, what you can start to do is say, okay, how are they analyzing these properties? And maybe develop a range. Maybe they all say, hey, you know what, $35 to $40 is what we use. Well, you can feel pretty darn confident you can use $35 to $40 per square foot. So that's the quick estimating guide in order to do this. The more deals you do, the better you'll be at it. As we start getting to hairier and hairier deals, you may find deals that already have estimates or engineer estimates on the cracked slab of a $20,000 quote. And so what you need to do is, let's just say it was $40 a square foot for $40 a square foot for a 1,000 square foot property, and we need to cosmetically renovate it. Plus, there's a $20,000 quote for a cracked slab. Then we estimate the repairs at $40,000. $40 times 1,000 plus a la carte on this side, there's $20,000 to fix this cracked slab. Now it's a $60,000 renovation. So you have to understand this rule of thumb is just for the cosmetic renovations, but if it needs a new roof, it might be $10,000 for that new roof or $15,000, and you have to add it on top of it because now we're talking about structural issues at the property, whereas this rule of thumb is for the cosmetic renovation of the property. So For that property that we looked at the other day, I would say, hey, you're good. It's an $800,000 price point. Let's just start off at $45 per square foot. And then I'd encourage you to talk to other cash buyers as well to hone in and solidify that number.
Yeah.
Yeah. The cash buyer relationship, it's getting a lot more important. It's literally everything. Yeah.
So, okay, we found the ARV, we find the repairs. What we use at our company, we've been using for 12 years, is our own deal calculator, right? We don't use formulas and things like that. We never given it out in a video, but you know what? Let's give out our deal calculator in this video. We'll go ahead and do that, put it down below, and anyone can use it who wants it. And this deal calculator is so important. We call it like the lifeblood of the business because we're able to plug in our ARV, we're able to plug in our repairs, we're able to plug in our wholesale fee, and then we're able to determine what's a profitable deal for a cash buyer and what purchase price do we need to come in at.
It's all automatically like, it's pretty good.
So instead of saying, oh my gosh, 72%, 82%, we use this for every single wholesale and flip deal. We use this. We use this deal calculator.
Would you find it wise to like do the analysis through this calculator and then like maybe like send the cash buyer like these numbers? Like, hey, look all this math that I did for you. Like, do you think that would solidify a little bit more?
It does not hurt whatsoever. And then you can have a call with your cash buyer and say, hey, you mind hopping for 10, 15 minutes? We can walk through these numbers and tweak them, and see if we can make them work for you.
I imagine it's a lot better than somebody who didn't run through numbers prior, right?
1,000%. Yeah. The closer relationship you have with your cash buyers, the more you see what they see and how they analyze deals, the better. And that's why also I stated beforehand, I've had cash buyers send me their own deal calculators. You know what? So I'm not going to now use my deal calculator, then send it to them. I'm of service. I'm going to use their deal calculator. Send, hey, I plugged it into your deal calculator. Thank you so much for giving that to me. Hey, it looks like it's a great deal for you. You want to walk through the numbers in your deal calculator? Right? So doing all these little things will add up. So now let's say, hey, we talked to the cash buyer. We know they want at least $40,000 of profit. Say specifically this cash buyer wanted that. We're going to plug in a $10,000 wholesale fee. We're talking about this hypothetical deal.
Let me pause you for a second. Where'd you get that 10,000 from?
Oh, okay. So 10,000 is what we always shoot for on wholesale deals. So here's this deal right here, 18,000. Because of the work it takes to put into a deal, I'm happy with getting at least $10,000 on a deal. Now, you can make more than that. I've made significantly more than that, and I've made less than that. So a lot of the times when we're starting out, we're going to be way worse at negotiating and way worse with our numbers. And so 10,000 is just a really good starting point. Like, because if you want to do a $50,000 wholesale fee and you plug that in there, you have to acquire $50,000 less or $40,000 less than if you wanted a $10,000 wholesale fee. So the more you acquire the property below market value, the lower the price, the bigger your wholesale fee. The likelihood of you being an amazing negotiator day one of doing this, probably lower. So how do you increase the likelihood of you actually getting getting a wholesale fee? You make it 10,000, and you just got to ask yourself, man, for the work I'm putting in, would I be happy closing one deal and making $10,000? If so, okay, cool. Then I would start there, and knowing that, hey, just start there with your numbers. Like the deal calculator is what's beautiful about is you can start massaging the numbers. Right? Because you can plug in your $10,000 wholesale fee, you can talk about the purchase price, you talked about the real estate agent in there, and you're like, holy crap, my cash buyer is going to make $80,000 on this deal, and this is a $500,000 property. I have a lot more room for my wholesale fee. I can now squeeze out a $30,000 or $40,000 wholesale fee on this deal. But if you start saying, hey man, I want a $100,000 wholesale fee, like you're just going to be dreaming the whole entire time and not be doing a great job. So that's like the bare minimum I want someone to shoot for, and it absolutely can be more. But we feel like that's a worthy amount for a particular deal.
Would you be confident in me saying basically the more money our cash buyer or investor will make, theoretically, the more money we can make as well? Yeah, got it. Okay, yeah.
It's a mutually beneficial relationship. The more money they make, the more money you make. Got it. You both want to make a lot of money together. If you sell them if they're smart, they're only going to buy deals that are going to make them money. They're going to be very happy to pay you. The mindset and ideology is that you want to work with cash buyers that are ecstatic to pay you wholesale fees and large wholesale fees because they know that you're going to stay true to them, you're going to bring them great deals, and they're rewarding you for the work that you did already. And if they're buying a deal from you today, for damn sure they want a deal from you tomorrow, the next week, the next month.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they?
Do you still have relationships with cash buyers from when you started?
Yeah. That's some of my best friends and best relationships. Yeah. I mean, we made each other a lot of money, and we're talking about our livelihood and our business, and being in real estate together. We're both providing for our families, we're providing for our loved ones, and that's where you develop a close relationship because you're not going behind each other's backs, you're helping each other out, and you both want each other to win. So it becomes when you have those like-minded goals together, you just gel with that particular person.
Yeah.
So a lot of relationships I still have for over 12 years. Yeah, I know these people like the Troys, the Bryans, JDs.
Yeah.
Those are
Real
over
people.
10 years.
Yeah,
Those are 10-year-old relationships that are first name basis in my phone. We still text each other happy birthday. I got to get dinner with JD pretty soon.
And I feel like it alleviates you a lot in beginner's life. They build these relationships and then have them over time because you never have to find another cash buyer really ever again if you have all this long list of them that right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I say, hey, 3 to 5. It's not about 100 cash buyers. It's about finding 3 to 5. I just named off 3 right here that I've known for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so Brian I met at a Real Estate Investor Association meeting, and because I was attending 3 in the area, we saw each other at all 3 events in 1 month, and it's just like, hey man, I didn't talk to you the first time I saw you, but I've been seeing you a lot. What do you do?
Yeah.
And you know what? Cool. Now he's bought a lot of deals from me, right? So like that just happens from being in that proximity. Troy, that cash buyer, came from me meeting just another individual at a Real Estate Investing Association meeting, and they were like, hey, you should talk to Troy.
Yeah.
So that actually came from a Real Estate Investor Association meeting. And then JD's been a mentor of mine for a long time. And so yeah, a lot of these people you can meet at Real Estate Investor Association meetings, which is so vital.
All right, so we found our property. We analyzed it using either their calculator or ours. It's a good deal for both of us. What comes next?
Yeah, so after you analyzed it, you verified it's a good deal, you used your deal calculator, the cash buyer's deal calculator, or matches up with that particular rule they gave you. Now that we know exactly what we need to offer, because that was the goal of this analysis, right? We called the agent, we found the distressed deal, they verified it's going to go all cash, it's going to go to an investor. We say, great, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get with my team, I'm going to analyze this deal, let you know exactly where we need to come in at to make this property work. You now analyzed it. This is a hot lead, so don't go wait 24 hours to go analyze this. This is exactly what you want. This is the gold. So now you analyze it right away. Now, in the beginning, this might take you 30 minutes, an hour for one deal. That's okay. As you get better at this, it's going to take you 10, 15 minutes. All right, sometimes even faster. You will get there, right? I understand analyzing properties like the back of my hand. So know that it will take you longer in the beginning. If it takes you 2 hours to analyze it because you're fumbling around, guess what? That's fine. Right? The way we ended the conversation is, hey, I'm gonna meet with my team, get back to you as soon as I can. So I didn't say, hey, I'm gonna meet with my team, get back to you in 10 minutes. Don't hold yourself to an unrealistic timeline that you can't commit to. Because part of this is about creating micro commitments and fulfilling them with real estate agents. Mm-hmm. So I didn't put some timeline on it. And I never ever do that too, even being advanced and doing hundreds of these deals, because what happens is, because I have said, hey, I'm gonna look at this deal, analyze it, I'll get back to you in 30 minutes. And guess what? Another agent calls me with a smoking hot deal that's super hot. Hey, Alex, you need to get to this property right now. And I'm like, crap, I got to go to that property. Right. Then I got to call back this agent. Like, hey, it's going to take me a little bit longer. So I say, hey, I'm going to get back to you as soon as possible. So just really important things to say. So we analyze the deal. We know exactly where we need to offer on this property, right? It might be $425,000, for example. And let's just say it was listed at $500,000. So the first thing to understand is the list price is arbitrary. The list price is negotiable wherever a house is listed. All right, most people have this belief if a house is listed at $800,000, like that property you were looking at, that you have to offer $800,000. You don't.
That was my indication, yeah.
Yeah, you absolutely do not. I mean, if you've ever bought anything from eBay, from Craigslist, that is negotiable, right? Like that is negotiable unless it says buy it now at this price, right? But the way I look at every single house on the MLS on the market, look at it like it has OBO next to it or best offer next to it. So you don't offer where it works for the seller or the list price. You offer where it works for your cash buyer and where you make your desired wholesale fee.
Right.
Okay? That's where you offer. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to get 100% acceptance on all these offers. Like roughly what we see, and it fluctuates, but about 1 in 10 offers for us, we're able to get a deal that we're able to wholesale and roughly make about $10,000 on. Now, when you're starting out, that might be 1 in 20 offers because you stink at making offers. It might be 1 in 25, but it doesn't take hours and hours to submit an offer. And it's pretty simple to do an offer a day at the very least, 30 offers a month. And what we like to think is that should get you about a deal or two, when you're starting out, if you're doing everything the right way.
Yeah.
So what we need to do at this point is call the agent back and let them know where we need to offer on this particular property in order to get it done.
Right.
All right, so really I just remind the agent, call them back, hey, this is Tim with ABC Homes, or hey, this is Tim. It was a pleasure speaking with you earlier. I met with my team. For us to close on this property, where we can come in at is at 425, right? That's what we're talking about, 425. And sometimes I just shoot them straight if they're more of a straight shooter. Sometimes I'll say, hey, this property needs a lot of work. If it does need a lot of work, we really analyze this tooth and nail, and we need to come at 425 on this property. If anything, I'm putting this out there and then stop, pause, see what they say. Because they're either going to think, hey, that works. Hey, that doesn't work. Maybe that works. Let them reply. And right, I've had agents say, yeah, absolutely, yeah, we can go ahead, we can get that written up right now. I've had agents be like, oh, you know what, that's like a little too low. All right, well, now we have to work with them. Like, okay, well, we really crunched our numbers, and that's where we can come in at to make it work. Where do you think we need to be to make it work? Because just because they say, hey, that's not around where we need to be at, maybe they tell you it's 430, $5,000 above your price that you're offering.
Right. And
now you know immediately you can make this deal work. You analyzed it, and bare minimum, you're making a $5,000 wholesale fee.
Yeah.
Like, that still works.
Yeah.
You can't just say, I've seen people do this, but like if the agent says, hey, that's not, where we need to be at on this deal, and then you're like, oh, okay, I'll talk to you later. Like you're shooting yourself in the foot. It's, it's not going to work out. So we have to work with them on these offers. Now, I've had dozens and dozens and dozens of agents throughout the years tell me, Alex, you know what, that offer is not going to work.
Yeah.
You know what? And then I've had dozens and dozens of deals where they told me that. I say, well, an offer is better than no offer. How about we just get it in? At the very least, it could be a backup offer. I just know this is going to be a no-nonsense, genuine cash offer that we can stick to. We're not going to drag our feet. We're not going to wait till the nth hour, get under contract, and then ask for some $100,000 price reduction like other people do in this business. Yeah. Okay, so $425,000. Right, I've had a lot of agents tell me, hey, that isn't going to work, but we need to get that offer in. Right, an offer is better than no offer. So let's say the agent in this scenario is going to be open to accepting our $425,000 offer. What we need to do as professionals at this particular point in time, we know when dealing on the market, the agent's going to write this contract, the listing agent, in this situation where they're representing us. We have to send the listing agent, what we need to send them is the purchaser name. So we have to send them our close date. When do we want to close? We always put 14 days or sooner on there. That's normal for a cash transaction, and that's normal for any cash buyer to close on. We put the EMD amount. So that's the earnest money deposit, typically a refundable deposit that's due within 72 hours. Roughly, rule of thumb is anywhere from 1% to 5% of the purchase price of the property. What we do in San Diego is we either make it $5,000 or $10,000. So that means within 72 hours, $5,000 or $10,000 is going to be due, whatever you put there, okay? Now, because of the way we do it, we talk to cash buyers first, that's typically due within 72 hours. Our goal is to wholesale within 72 hours, so we don't have to put any money into the deal. If we have to put money into the deal in that particular situation, and you don't have $5,000 or $10,000, borrow it. Find it. That's exactly what I did when I had no money. So you can find that money, you can borrow it from someone else and pay them 10% on what they lend you if this is able to be a successful transaction. If you borrow $5,000, it's refundable at the end of the day. Hey, if I'm able to close this deal, help me close this deal, and you borrow $5,000, I'll pay you $500. So now that $10,000 wholesale fee, paying $500, you make $9,500. It's a quick way to get that capital. So, right, a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, do I need that? No, you don't. And I've been able to do it without doing that. That's always our goal, to not put in the deposit. But even if you put in the deposit yourself and you have to, you'll get paid back your deposit and your wholesale fee. So it'll make you whole. It doesn't come out of your wholesale fee. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
For someone who doesn't have that capital you mentioned, you can find it. Like where would you go about finding that then?
Okay, if you've been smart, you've been going to RIAs, you've also been meeting other real estate agents and other real estate brokers, potentially other mentors. You may have family members, you may have people at your office. It's the same exact thing, right? When I raise money for a fix and flip deal, you raise it from private money lenders. There's people all around you that have money, right? What about your friend that has a great job, right? That supports you, like a best friend. If you don't have any friends, then people that go to Real Estate Investing Association meetings, there's private money lenders there. There's people that have money there. Some of my first private money lenders, I met them at Real Estate Investing Association meetings. So people I borrowed hundreds of thousands of dollars from having no initial relationship with them at all. So that's one easy way to get that capital. Now, the most important thing that we need to send the agent and have it be in the contract in our offer terms is an inspection contingency. This is your back out clause. What I recommend when you're starting out, have a 7-day inspection contingency. What this means is you have 7 days to back out of the contract due to the inspection of the property. So if you go there one day and then the next day you don't like the shade of grass, it's a little greener or less green, the property didn't pass your personal inspection, you're able to back out. So this 7-day window, 7-day inspection contingency, that's your back out clause. This is how you stay protected. This is how you can get a property under contract and you back out due to the inspection when you're not able to close a deal. So you have to live within those 7 days. You have to wholesale this house within those 7 days. Do not, if you're starting out as a beginner, do not submit an offer without an inspection contingency clause. So when working on the market with the real estate agents, what we're using is the State Association, Realtor Association contract. I haven't seen any Association of Realtors contract that didn't have the inspection contingency clause in there. You just put in the number of days. So when we tell the agent 7 days, they're able to put that in there. So it's very, very important. Don't want you to forget that. That's how we're able to do this risk-free and back out. Okay. Now, if you don't have a business, and whether you have a business, what we need is a proof of funds to submit with your offer. This is another pro move, right? Most people will talk with the agent, say you do everything right, you send them the offer terms. They need proof of funds. What a proof of funds is, it can be a bank statement, it could be a PDF, it could be a letter that shows that you, Tim, you have access to the capital to buy this property. In this situation, this one, it's $425. You have at least access to $425,000. You don't have that, right?
Yes.
A lot of people don't have that. How do you get that? Well, you can get that from hard money lenders in your area. Hard money lenders are people that lend money to fix and flippers. They want to lend money to fix and flippers. So if you contact them, if you go to Google, type in hard money lenders in your city name, and you contact them, sometimes they have proof of funds on their website, and you can get it from there. You can call them and say, hey, I'm a wholesaler and fix and flipper in the area. I'd love to work with you. Are you able to give out a proof of funds by any chance so I can get some of these properties under contract? Boom. That's the easiest way to do it. I've gotten several letters from hard money lenders, bank statements from hard money lenders that I've been able to use as a proof of funds. Or if most people don't know a high net worth individual, you can utilize their bank statement and fill out an additional letter that says, hey, I authorize Tim to be able to access these funds for this particular deal, and just have them sign it.
Yeah.
So there's multiple ways to do that. And then what we'll do as well, there's a couple other strategies. I'll just put that in the description below on how you can get those online in even a faster manner too. So you submit the proof of funds with your email offer terms to the agent. And now, let's say you do have an LLC. The next step is, if you have an LLC, you just want to include either the articles of incorporation, or sometimes called the articles of organization, or your operating agreement. The point of this is to show that you, Tim, if this is your LLC, you are the CEO or an authorized signer for the company. If you don't have a company, then it's completely fine. You don't need that. Yeah. But this is about being a pro. You want to give the agent everything that they need to be confident in the offer you're sending them and to fill it out, so they're not coming back to you and saying, does Tim actually have access to the capital? And now they didn't even need to ask you for that. That's very important, right? What most people will do is they don't do that. They don't send this with the offer, and the agent has to ask you that. Anytime an agent has to ask you for something, typically means in some ways, you don't know what you're doing, and we eliminate any questions the agent asks us, right? So now when we send this to them via email, the offer terms, We let them know we're going to send them the offer terms with our proof of funds. That way we can fill out the offer, and then you go ahead, send it to me. I'll sign it and get it back to you as soon as possible. Typically, they'll fill out the contract, the state association contract. Usually takes 5, 10, 15 minutes. On that call, I call the close call, you can say, when do you think, once I send that to you, when do you think you'll be able to get that over to me? So now they give you a deadline. They might, if it's 3:30 right now, hey, if you send that over in 5 minutes, I'll get that to you by 4. Okay, perfect. So now we have a deadline. We expect that by 4. We can look at our email, see that come in by 4. If it's 4:03, it's not in there. I'm calling that agent saying, hey, I checked my spam folder. Just wanted to make sure, you didn't send the contract and I didn't get it yet, right? Follow up with them to get this contract. It's not a done deal till it's a done deal. It's not done till it's signed. So now the agent sends it over to us. We digitally sign it. Usually we're going to sign it through something called either Zip Forms or DocuSign, just an online digital signing service. And you want to validate, make sure that all the terms that you sent the agent are in there. So you sign the contract. It will either be automatically sent back to the agent or you need to send it back to them via email. Now you've signed the contract. This doesn't mean the property is under contract yet, right? That's our goal, to get under a contract so that we can then wholesale and assign the rights of this contract to a cash buyer. So once we sign the contract, guess what? All the seller needs to do is sign the contract, and now we have a binding agreement. So at this particular point in time, if you talked with the agent, you can also ask them, when does the seller plan on reviewing offers, or when does the seller plan on accepting this offer? They may say, hey, this evening, we'll sign it, I'll send it back to you, right? So typically, once the seller signs it, they'll send back the executed agreement, the completely signed agreement, to verify that, hey, all parties signed it. You want that. That verifies that, hey, we now have a binding agreement, the timelines kick in, we have a 3-day EMD due in 72 hours. We have our 7-day inspection contingency, and the goal is to close in 14 days. So once we get that executed contract, as soon as we get that back, as soon as we get it back, I see that in there, I am now contacting my 3 to 5 cash buyers. This is now a deal that fits their exact criteria. This is now a deal in this situation, say, we're making a $10,000 wholesale fee, they're gonna make $40,000 of profit on it because we analyzed it and we know exactly what they want. Right. What I'm going to do is now send an email to my cash buyers. I'm gonna let them know, hey, just got this property under contract at 1234 Hurst Drive. Here's the ARV of the property. Here's the repairs. Here's your purchase price. So I'm going to put the purchase price where they need to buy it with my wholesale fee included. Right. I'm not going to list out my wholesale price because I'm not going to list out my wholesale fee. I don't want them thinking about my wholesale fee. I want them thinking about, hey, does this property work at this purchase price? That's all I want them to be thinking about. So ARV, repairs, purchase price. Because most qualified investors and fix and flippers, you give them those 3 numbers, they can plug into their own analyzer and see if it's a deal or not right away. I'm also going to go above and beyond. Those three comps that I found, I'm going to include links to those comps. Hey, here are the comps that justify this ARV. I'm making their job easier for them. I'm then going to list out the closing timelines. EMD due this date. Inspection contingency removal this date. Closing timeline this date. So now they have all the information that they need. Once again, if a cash buyer needs to ask you questions about a property too, on things that you could have told them already, you're not doing your job. You're not going above and beyond. Yeah. So I send all that information to the cash buyer. You send that to your 3 to 5 cash buyers. Follow up with a phone call and text message to them, and see if you can walk through and talk about the property right now today. So if you've done your job, you've followed these steps that we're talking about right now, it should work for multiple of your cash buyers. Now, at this particular point in time, if this is my purchase price with a 10K wholesale fee, I want to work with the cash buyer that's the most communicative and get out to the property the same day. A lot of times they want to see the property, and a lot of the times then we just talk to the agent and say, hey, I'm going to walk the property with my partner. Can you set up a time for me to view it tomorrow at 10 a.m.? Sometimes the agent will just give you the lockbox code. Yeah, just go over there. Yeah. Hey, I'll come meet you at the property. Okay, completely fine. But now you're walking the property with your cash buyer, because they want to see it. So once we send it to them, in this particular situation, they'll walk it. Maybe they bring their contractor, okay, as well to the property. But we're doing this, my goal is to do this all within 72 hours. So same day or next day or the day after, right? I don't want to put in that EMD if I don't have to. That earns my deposit.
Is it pretty common to have to do it? More so than not?
It's common if you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
It's common if you don't talk to cash buyers and you have no cash buyers and they can't make decisions within 24 to 72 hours. If you're dealing with a serious cash buyer that buys 3 to 10 properties a month, understands those quick timelines.
Right.
I mean, this is what they do day in, day out. They understand good deals go quickly.
Yeah.
So if you have great cash buyers, then it's common to not put in the EMD.
Got it.
100%. If you don't know what you're doing, if you don't find cash buyers first, then it's going to be more common to put in the EMD.
Right. Yeah. Because that was kind of my follow-up, where it's like a lot of people don't have the capital for that deposit. So it's like, could I just have my cash buyer like do it as well? I mean, instead of finding.
You could. You could. So if your cash buyer does it as well, then you found a good deal for them, and you might as well wholesale it to them and they put it in.
Yeah.
So
Got it. Okay.
the whole point is finding a good deal that matches their criteria, and your cash buyer, absolutely, your cash buyer can put it in.
Yeah.
This is why we want to find the cash buyers first.
Yeah. It's becoming way more important than I thought. Yeah.
Good deals go quickly. So because what happens is you can get a great deal under contract and say you don't know how to find cash buyers. You watch this video and you forget about the Google Ninja trick, or you just don't know how to find them, and you have a great deal you could have made $10,000 or $20,000 on, but because you have to have a 14-day close or sometimes a 10-day close on a deal, otherwise you're not going to be competitive with other offers. Other wholesalers, other investors are going to offer that. So those are the timelines we're working with. So you want to line up your ducks in a row. And once again, it doesn't take weeks or months to find these cash buyers. You can find 3 to 5 cash buyers in a day, 2 days. So we have to just extrapolate, put our time down to okay, this doesn't take months. I can do this very, very quickly and find these cash buyers first. So just another reason for them.
You mentioned proof of funds as well. Yep. And from my understanding, it is proof that you have the money to actually make this purchase, right? So in that case, you mentioned hard money lenders. Yep. Again, if this is a really good deal for the cash buyer, could you just leverage them to prove that they have the funds to buy it?
Leverage.
Or am I getting it? Am I getting it confused?
Leverage the hard money lender, or leverage?
Well, if the cash buyer has the capital to buy it, then that should be the proof then, because they're technically.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, you absolutely can. So if you have a relationship with them, you can use the proof of funds from your cash buyer as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and we've done that as well, right? Bank statements from our cash buyers, things along those lines. How we've incentivized the cash buyer in that situation, hey, if you're just starting out and you need a proof of funds and you're too lazy to go to a hard money lender, hey, I'll give you first right of refusal. I'll send out this deal to you first if you give me access to your proof of funds. What's important about the proof of funds is we need it updated every 30 days. So if you have a bank statement from 2 years ago,
Right.
it's not valid, right? It doesn't really matter. So always an updated proof of funds means within 30 days. So if it's, if we're talking about August 1st, then we want it by July 1st. That's the latest that we want it. So if you get it from a cash buyer, you have to remind them to send it to you every 30 days.
Yeah.
So you better have a darn good relationship with them. Make sure they send it to you, that you're worth getting sent a proof of funds. Yeah. Whereas a hard money lender typically wants to give out as many proof of funds as possible, because that means when they're assisting wholesalers and flippers to get these deals, and if you're a fix and flipper and you need money lent to you, the first person you're going to think about is probably the hard money lender that gave you proof of funds. Yeah. So they're much more willing, and they're much more on top of it.
Right.
And they're much more used to giving out a proof of funds than a cash buyer. But you absolutely can use a cash buyer, and I've done that too.
So it's pretty much more common for a beginner wholesaler to use a hard money lender for that proof then, because they may not have the relationship with the cash buyer that would alleviate this, right?
I would say so. That's what I recommend, because it's much more common for someone who doesn't know what they're doing to not even have a proof of funds. I'll say that. Yeah. And then much more common for someone who has no idea what they're doing to not even talk to a cash buyer. Yeah. So
is it pretty easy to get? What if you have a low credit score or something like that?
They don't check your credit score to get a proof of funds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So every hard money lender is different, but they're not, they want to give you proof of funds, because if you find a hard money lender lends on the deal itself. So if you find a great fix and flip deal, what they're going to do is they're basically like a mortgage on the property. They'll put a lien or note on the property that says, hey, if you do a poor job fixing and flipping this property, they take ownership of this property, and they're going to get paid the money they lent to you on this particular deal. So in those situations, hard money lenders are protected, and so you got to look at it as it's giving out a proof of funds for a hard money lending company. It's like marketing. They want to lend millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars to fix and flippers. How do you build goodwill and trust with fix and flippers? You give them a proof of funds to use to get deals under contract. So once again, the mindset and ideology is they want to give out a proof of funds.
Right.
You just need to talk to them.
Right.
So if you just go to them and say, hey, I'm just a wholesaler, I'm not going to be fixing and flipping any property, you are not playing to the interests of this hard money lender. Hard money lenders don't lend money to wholesalers, they lend to fix and flippers. So if you say, hey, I'm a wholesaler and fix and flipper, now they see you as a potential customer for them, and they're going to be much more willing to give you the proof of funds as well. So just make sure you have interest in fixing and flipping, and you communicate you're a fix and flipper as well. You want to fix and flip, and they'll lend to you.
Awesome. So we have the agreement then with all of us. Everything's good. What is the next step to kind of, I guess, get paid and close this wholesale deal, you know?
Yeah. So if we've done our job right up to this point, right, maybe we've shown the property to the cash buyer, they want it, they say, hey, congrats, Tim, this is actually a great deal. All the numbers line up. I really appreciate working with you. You obviously know what the heck you're doing. You're a breath of fresh air. I can't wait to work with you on the next deal as well. At this point, we're going to assign the contract, okay? Now, usually we just use an assignment agreement that then the cash buyer, the fix and flipper, and we sign that says we are transferring the title rights of our property to the cash buyer, all right? In California, we use something called the Agreement of Assignment Addendum. And what this means is we actually have the seller, the buyer, and we sign this assignment agreement. So in some states, you're going to need the seller to sign it. In some states, you just need your buyer and you to sign it. That makes sense. So it's dependent state to state. Now we give that to escrow. So escrow is a third-party company that holds the funds where the funds can be wired to. Escrow and title are the companies that handle the transfer of title. So escrow gets opened once we get a property under contract, and they facilitate all the paperwork. They make sure everything moves appropriately. The title company is making sure, hey, this owner of the property is actually the owner, and they're going to handle the transfer of the title to the other company. So at this point, we give them, escrow and title, we give them the assignment agreement. They handle the transfer, all right? They handle the transfer. On some assignment agreements, you can go ahead, you can put $10,000 assignment fee on there, and we have an example assignment agreement too. I'll just put in the description, but you can put that on there. So at close, once we close, you can get paid that $10,000 wholesale fee. There's different ways to structure this. I mean, there's a million different ways to structure this. You can get paid your assignment fee at time of assignment. You can get paid 50% at time of assignment, and then at close. What we've always done, because we've always had phenomenal relationships with our cash buyers, I think as you can tell, we've developed these relationships with them. I don't care if I get that wholesale fee in 7 days or 14 days. Like whatever's, hey, let's just all handle it at close of escrow.
Yeah.
Because if the cash buyer is using a hard money lender or private money lender, they're going to lend all the funds to escrow, and then escrow is going to either send me an assignment fee check in the mail, they're going to wire it, or I'm going to pick it up. So that's how we assign the deal. There's another way to close too, which is called double closing, which is where you bring actual funds to the table a lot of the times. You close on it first, and then you resell it at a higher price. There's more steps involved, and there might be particular situations where you want to do that. But we love assigning the overwhelming majority of our deals because we just need to sign a piece of paper, and then there's no additional fees whatsoever.
As a beginner, that's probably the route I'll go.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's. I mean, even today, that's what we assigned this deal. Like that's our preferred method of doing it. It's a lot less work. So for some beginners, they may only know about the double close method, but I recommend assigning if you can.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess after you get the check in the mail, how would you recommend I go about using it? All right. Immediately, I'm thinking, let's all get a nice steak dinner.
Yeah, that's where a lot of people go wrong. So I recommend you need to realize what you just did. You just got paid a wholesale fee for a deal. If you wanted to fix and flip this deal, if you had the knowledge and expertise and systems to do it, you probably could and make an even larger check. So first you need to realize that. You need to pat yourself on the back. You just made money with no money, too. That's how you get into real estate with no money. That's how you wholesale real estate with no money. Sometimes a lot of these deals too could have been good as buy and hold deals. too. You found a good deal. You just got affirmation from another cash buyer on, your numbers as well. And what you need to do, what I recommend, anytime you do a deal, you just gave them assumptions of your repair costs, of the ARV. Don't forget about this deal. Look at what it sells for on the market. Ask this cash buyer, hey, do you mind if I pop in and see how the renovation's going? This is a huge learning opportunity if you want to progress as a real estate investor, because it's not just about wholesaling. I really encourage anyone who wants to get started, start wholesaling, then wholesale and fix and flip, build a nest egg of profits, and roll your money back into real estate. You can buy and hold and get passive income. So the more you can learn, and I look at this as like, you just got paid to learn, my friend. You didn't put any money into it. But now, let's see how long the project takes the fix and flipper, right? Let's see what contractor crews they're using. How many people are there? Let's see what the actual true renovation budget was. Were you right in your analysis? Because let's say you were $20,000 off. You better learn why you're $20,000 off, maybe too much or too little. Because guess what? If, let's say you overestimated the budget by $20,000, you could have had a $20,000 bigger wholesale fee in that situation. Yeah. Let's say you underestimated the $20,000 for a renovation and you want to fix and flip property. You better figure out why. Because if you underestimate the renovation budget on a fix and flip deal you want to do, and you're actually fixing and flipping it, it's $20,000 higher, that's going to directly eat into your profit at the end of the day. So you now have no risk to be on the sidelines of a fix and flip deal to learn everything you need to know about it. And if you want to buy and hold rental properties too, there's going to be a lot of rental properties that you're going to buy at a steep discount that need some renovation to them. And that's great because now you have built-in equity as well, right? If you can substantially acquire a property below list price as a rental property, put $50,000 of repairs into it, increase the value of it by $200,000, then refinance the property, you could cash out all the money that you put into the property and then use that capital to buy another property. Right. So there's tons of advantages here that you have. So not only the learning, but now the next most important thing, don't go blow this all on steak dinners. Don't go to Vegas and gamble it away. I always recommend holding on to this capital at this particular point in time. Once you start building a nest egg, you want to invest your money. But what you want to do is keep your pipeline full. Exactly what you just did got you this check. And you want to now on a daily basis keep doing what you're doing. One of the biggest downfalls of any beginner is they spend all this time on one particular deal, whether it has potential or not, and they're not calling on new leads every single day that are distressing their market that they can get under contract even more. I want you to get to the point of having multiple properties under contract at the same time. That way, if one doesn't work out or you misanalyze one particular property, it's okay because you got 3 other properties under contract that have a high likelihood of closing. So you need to understand, you need to keep doing what you're doing. This is active income in real estate. You're going to keep on learning. It's going to make you a better real estate investor, and keep that pipeline full. Most people forget a lot of the times when you have success. When you have success, you party. When you don't have success, you ponder. In this situation, you had success, but I want you to realize that the things that got you here was finding these deals, submitting offers, negotiating, and then closing these deals. You need to be doing all those things on a daily basis as much as you can if you want to keep these checks coming in.
Right.
So that's what you need to be doing. And the first one, you need to realize this deal is, my first check that I ever got, my first wholesale deal, changed my life because I learned how to make money with no money. And I proved to myself that I could do this. So realizing, once you get that first check, I think anyone who does their first wholesale deal realizes that too, and it's a point of celebration. And then it's just right back to doing the work and then evolving from there.
I'm waiting for it, and hopefully I won't let you down. I can't thank you enough for obviously the opportunity to kind of get the one-on-one with you like this. So we're just, one last question, just to alleviate my concerns. I have a full-time job. Yep. I work 40 hours a week. This seems like a lot. I guess, did you have a full-time job when you did it?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of our clients and students start with part-time, full-time jobs, and we coach and train on that as well. And the long and short of it is, you need to create time. We all have a lot of time, whether we know it or not. We need to probably not watch the 5 hours of Tour de France that's going on and watch the 20-minute highlights instead, or watch the 5-minute highlights of the football game rather than the full entire football game. And we need to carve out time in your schedule if you have a full-time job, you absolutely can carve out 2-3 hours a day. And there's a systematic way to go about that. But since we covered so much today, what I want to do is let's do a follow-up video on exactly how to do that. And we'll do that in one of the next videos. I'm breaking it down, and we'll do it in like 15 hours or less in a week, because that's what we train on and how I got started.
I'd love that. Yeah, I really like that. I imagine a lot of, the beginners starting out also are my position as well. So yeah. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, Tim, thanks for doing this with me. Hopefully this taught you how to get started wholesaling real estate as a beginner. Great questions. And then I look forward to doing some more of this content. And I guess if anyone in our community, in the audience, if you guys like this, please let us know. As you know, if you leave comments, we respond to each and every one. And let us know if you have any questions about this. We'd love to help you out. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you enjoyed this format today, it's a little bit different than what we've been doing. Please let us know in the comments below. And if you know anyone who wants to get started wholesaling real estate, or just get started in real estate without having to get a license, maybe doesn't have a lot of capital, please be sure to share this video with them. There's nothing we love more than seeing our community win, and we want to see you win. And then don't forget about all the resources we have in the description below that we highlighted during this conversation. So if you want to learn how to wholesale, fix and flip, buy and hold, check out realestateskills.com, and I'll see you in the next one.